So come with me today as I attempt to create an inverted T arrangement, which is something that's not very popular here in the UK and something that I've never created before. So come along and see how I get on. Welcome, it's lovely to see you once again. Now today I'm taking myself out of my comfort zone slightly and I'm going to create an arrangement that's not really seen here a great deal in the UK. It's called an inverted T, sometimes referred to as a French fleur de lis, and it's something that I don't think is used or seen very much here in the UK, but it's a design that I've been asked for loads of times. So I've had to do a little bit of research on this one and explore exactly what this design is supposed to replicate. And it pretty much says in the title of this design that it is an inverted T. So if you think about the letter T, it comes up and across at the top. We're going to invert it so it's upside down, and I'm going to have the flat base coming across ways and then a straight vertical section in the middle. So it almost looks like an upside down T. I believe it was a design that was very much seen in the 1950s and 60s and has, I think, an American influence to it. So for the American viewers, this might be something that you're more familiar with than me, but I'm going to have a go. I'm going to give it a really good go and hopefully not just educate yourselves, but educate myself as well. So this is a really exciting design. I'm going to use this long, narrow sort of base, this quite rectangular container, because I think it suits the style. And what I love about this is it's really symmetrical. The pattern is really symmetrical. And this design, this style of arrangement is very much symmetrical, balanced on either side, and it's almost like a mirror image, so it's quite formal. What we do on the left is repeated on the right, and then we have a line of flowers straight down the middle. So I'm hoping that this is going to work well. I'm going to sit the container as it is in the base, and I've realised it's a little narrow for the container, so I'm just going to pop off and get a wedge of foam to sit in there. I'm not going to tape over the top because sometimes it makes it difficult to hide the tape. I'm just going to wedge a small bit of foam down either side. Now I've got some little slithers of the bio foam. Now if you haven't seen this before, I talk more about this in one of the beginners videos, and I'll just link it here so you can go back and have a look at it. I don't really want that visible, so I'm going to chop that off. I'm only using it to stop my container moving around. I know lots of you would probably tape it in, but the difficulty sometimes you get by taping it in is that it's really hard to cover that tape. So I'm just going to wedge two pieces in on either side, and that will just stop it moving around and wedge it more firmly into the container. And everybody will have their different ways of creating their mechanics. That for me is nice and secure. What I'm going to do in the middle is take a really quite severe column of flowers and foliage down through the centre. Now I quite often mention here in Wales that it's cold and wet, and you wouldn't believe that it was the middle of August, and it is absolutely pouring down, and I'm hoping that it's not too disruptive on my little tin roof. So what we're going to do is we're going to go at least twice the height, so a little bit more than double the length of my container to give me my first placement. And I am going in with foliage this time, although quite often you'll see me putting the flowers in first, but I want to get that centre line. It's quite severe in all the sort of pictures and the reference information that I've read. It's quite a rigid design, so we're going to go with two, maybe three pieces in the middle, and what I'm aiming to do here is to have them almost lined up with the centre of my container. So I've possibly given myself a hard task because I've got to line it up just in the centre there so it matches the pattern of my container. So if we follow this line in the centre all the way up, hopefully I've got that top section of my upside down T. And down the middle here, I'm going to bring some gladioli to start with, and possibly some roses. So what I'm going to do with my first gladioli is look for one that's the most closed and the straightest. That's a really nice one, and that can go as my top flower, my straightest flower, and this is going to start that top section of that letter T. Needs to be a little bit lower than that greenery at the back, but that is going to start that middle section a little bit further down. So I have almost hidden those leaves at the back, but it is a rigid, very rigid line that I'm trying to create. And then if I step down with some more open gladioli, I'm really going to strengthen that centre column. And now I'm thinking perhaps I should have given myself a little bit more depth of the foam, because I'm taking up quite a large section there before I've got down to the base. And then I'm going to bend this top part off, because if I leave that on, that curve is really going to distract away from that straight line that I'm trying to create. It's a really massed, tight section there in the middle, but I think gladioli work really well. It could be a column of very tightly compact roses, it could be lilies, could even be alstroemeria, but something that's quite straight and isn't going to splay and fall apart. And then what I'm going to do is bring 2 equal placements off on either side, and I'm going to do that with stock. I could have done it with gladioli, but I haven't got 2 that are sort of matching in size and shape. And this design really does need to look almost like a mirror image. I did have 2 that were exactly the same, and I just snapped the top of it. So you're going to have to wait there while I go and find another one. So isn't that really annoying when that happens? Now, stock foliage doesn't smell particularly nice, and it doesn't last for a very long length of time either. So I'm going to remove it all, and then I'm going to cut my 2 flowers so they're the same length, and then they're going to work on either end as equal lengths to create that bottom part of the T. And I did make them a little shorter because I think that was too long. I still think that's a bit too long, bearing in mind the flower content that I have to fill in. Now, if we think about that shape there, that is almost like the beginning of a triangle. So if I draw a line from this top section down, it's almost like the outline of a triangle. But what I'm not going to do is fill in this area here. I'm going to fill in the front and the sides, but keep it really narrow on the top. So I've got to keep reminding myself all the time, this is not a triangle. And to complete that shape at the front, I'm going to use some roses, which are going to give me a really lovely colour link with the gladioli in the centre. So we've got width, height, and I've got depth there at the front. And I'm almost now going to connect one side to the other, and I'm going to keep cutting my flowers so that we have that really, really symmetrical mirror image on either side. And I'm thinking that for this design, I'm either not going to use any foliage, or I'm going to use the absolute bare minimum just to fill in. I'm going to see how far I can get with just adding flowers to create a shape. So I'm going to compact the roses quite close together. Think of a centre line right down the middle, and this is being copied on either side. It doesn't have to be quite as symmetrical and as mirror design doing it, but for the first time of explaining it, I'm going to keep it really quite severe and quite patterned, and hopefully then you'll get the idea of exactly what I'm going to do. So straight down, straight across, really, really straight. So what we don't want to do is put gladioli in this area and down here, because then we're making a triangle. I want to keep it all nice and compact and matching on both sides. So let's go with a rose in that position there. And then I've also got some really small chrysanthemums, which I thought give me a nice centre point. And I'm going to do the same thing, try and cut them so that they're a similar size and a similar shape. So either side of that centre line is matching. And I have, some of these flowers have been used in other designs. I run classes here during the week, so sometimes they're flowers that are left over from classes. Oh, can you hear that rain? It's just about starting to pour down, and it is home time as well, which is just typical really, isn't it? When I have to leave to go home, it pours down. So 2 either side, very matchy, and when I tell you don't do 2 headlights, today we're doing 2 headlights that match past that centre line. Quite stark, not sure if it's my cup of tea, but we're going to keep going. I don't want to fill in this area and I don't want to get too carried away. I'm going to introduce a little bit of lilac. This is an aster, this is the Callistephus, different to the September flower, but I'm going to now work in a bit of a pattern either side of that focal line, working my way out. Nice big lily would be quite nice here in the middle, but I'm going to go with smaller, more manageable flowers. Remember that focal point normally has the most dominant flower. Now, symmetry is quite hard to achieve. It's quite hard to get those really equal proportions on both sides. Now at this stage, if you've joined me for the first time, then welcome to the channel. My name is Sharon. I'm a florist here in the UK, and I have an amazing channel here on YouTube where I teach all different types of floral design. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then please do so. Hit that notification bell to be told every time I upload a new tutorial. Comment in the box, ask questions. Let's just really help to get this channel to grow, and concentrating hard on cutting these flowers so that they're really matching on either side. Now I think that works quite well, but my instinct as a UK florist is to keep filling in here and make a triangle. So I'm trying not to make it too wide on either side. I think my next position is going to be some more of the lilac aster. Really pretty flower. Now this is in season here in the UK at the moment. It is something that will grow quite successfully in the garden as well. And I'm just using it in that now I was going to say in that really symmetrical pattern. If you're not sure what symmetry is, then it's when the left and the right of the arrangement look exactly the same. And as a rule, I don't naturally enjoy doing perfectly symmetrical designs because they don't look natural to me. They look a bit artificial, and I just put a big flower in there and I really don't like that. So I'm going to swap it for a smaller bed and put that in somewhere else. So I like flowers to be a little bit more casual, placing things in a bit of a jaunty angle. But if you're new to floral design, then you might find this easier to do because you are following quite a rigid set pattern. And I've used mixed flowers. It might be easier to do if you have all one type of flower because it's easier to balance off on either side. But I think it's come together quite successfully. I'm quite happy with the way it looks. Now I've got a lovely colour distribution of the aster, the pink or lilac-y sort of colour. But if you look along the bottom here, I've got a really severe line of roses. So I'm going to tuck some of the asters in between just to sort of break up that quite severe line. And for those experts on inverted T's, you might tell me that that is how the design is meant to be. You're meant to have those very rigid lines, but it's a bit severe for me, so I'm going to break it up. I've got enough asters to be able to break it up. And then with a couple of roses that I've got left, I can put in a slightly higher line again, so that colour, that really lovely colour pink, is seen more clearly. Now if you are new here, then we have the main tutorial video comes out on a Sunday afternoon. Then we've got a Tuesday video which is a back to basics series, so it's looking back at very simple basic design. It's a really good set of videos if you're completely new to floral design. I've got a Facebook group, Sharon's Innovations group. Don't send me a personal friend's request because I won't accept it. And what I'm doing here is I'm just moving the roses slightly forward because I think they're too far back. So I've got that Facebook group that you can come and join me on and have a chat with other like-minded florists. And I've got a website full of interesting floral designs that you can learn from the comfort of your own home. And I'm thinking that I'm not going to add any more in here because that design really is quite compact. It's definitely got that narrow line down through the middle, and then we've got the two side placements making it look like an upside down T. What I now need to do is just fill in the back here so all the foam is covered and not overfill this area here so that I'm not filling in that gap and ruining that shape that I've just created. This one that I cut earlier is too small to go in anywhere else. I'm just going to pop it in the back so that it doesn't get wasted. I'm not going to be able to use it in anything else. And then I'm just going to use some eucalyptus just at the back there to cover all my mechanics. Now, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then now's the best time to do it. Hit that notification bell to be told every time I upload a new video, and then you won't miss anything. There are lots of tutorials here for you to learn floral design. And I've covered the back in quite nicely, but we have got these two gaps here, top and bottom. We've got one there and one here. And I have to be careful now that I don't raise the foliage up too high, that it detracts away from that shape that I've spent a little bit of time learning. Now, this is a new design to me. It's one that I'm not familiar with. I must be honest, when I've seen these sort of designs floating around on the internet, I've always thought it's a badly made triangle. How bad is that? And now I know that it's an inverted T, or representing that fleur-de-lis pattern, I can appreciate it much more. So that's my first attempt. It's your turn now to critique me because I've never done anything like this before. I've got a couple of white buds of the chrysanthemum head. I'm going to bring them out to the outside. I don't want that section in the middle that's got the white to become too dominant. So a couple of smaller buds just spread out on the outside is going to work quite well. And I often say when you're first learning to do a floral design, to stick to one colour, because it's far easier to arrange one colour than it is to evenly distribute many colours. So maybe I should have listened to my own advice and kept to one colour, because distributing 3 or 4 different colours equally throughout an arrangement is quite difficult to do. But overall, I think I'm quite pleased. I do have this one chrysanthemum head. I'm just going to tuck a few in the back. This will help sort of draw your eye backwards and give the design a little bit of depth, but I'm keeping them quite low because I don't want them visible from the front. So I've really enjoyed doing this one. This has taken me out of my comfort zone today. Beautiful inverted T, and I hope you've enjoyed watching me experiment with a new design. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you for the next video very soon. Thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.